With skyrocketing petrol prices and more EVs becoming available every month, there can't be a new car buyer out there who hasn't at least given some thought to going electric. But let's be honest, a lot of EVs have quirky designs that shout, "Oh, look at me, I'm driving an electric car." Well, here's one that looks just like its petrol-powered cousin, the BMW iX3. Based on the X3 SUV, the iX3 is pretty much the same car, but it just has an electric powertrain. And BMW, being aware that higher EV prices can be off-putting to potential buyers, have done a clever thing and made the iX3 available in one trim line only, and that's M Sport. So they can get away with charging more, but you don't feel shortchanged on the standard features list. Outwardly, there's little to tell this car apart from the regular X3, except for the front grille here, which is partially blocked off and has some vents underneath it that open and close to keep the battery system cool. We've got LED laser lights here and a very busy lower grille here with lots of fake vents, but it's a good, aggressive look. Side on, and it's a classic BMW SUV look with an M Sport badge and these two-toned 20-inch alloy wheels that have actually been designed to improve this car's aerodynamics, and they get a little M badge too. Now, I know when I reviewed this car's cousin, the X3M Competition, I criticised it for the rear end looking a little bit too busy, and look, to be honest, it has grown on me. I actually really do like this, especially the crab claw shaped rear light clusters here. I think these look pretty awesome. Down the bottom there, at the bottom of the bumper, we've got two indents where this car's exhausts would be, if only it had exhausts, but it doesn't. Underneath the powered tailgate, we've got a 510 litre storage space, which can be expanded by over 1,000 litres more with the rear seats down. Underneath the floor, and this is an important point, the iX3 comes with a cable that you can use at any public charging station. A lot of EVs these days don't come with these as standard. They only supply you with a plug that you can plug into your wall at home, a regular 240 volt socket, which can take up to 2 days to charge the car. The iX3 actually comes with both types of cables. Now, you're not going to believe what is under this bonnet. My breath was taken away by nothing. There's just a plastic cover. But underneath that is a lot of empty space. They could have put a frunk in here, but for reasons best known to them, they haven't. And an electric motor, which generates 210 kilowatts of power and 400 Newton meters of torque, 0 to 100 in 6.8 seconds. Electricity consumption averages at about 18.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, which is about average for the class. The 80 kilowatt hour battery takes around about 32 minutes to get to 80% using a 150 kilowatt charger. If you use a wall charger unit at home, it would take you about 7.5 hours to get it to 100%. Plug it into the wall with a regular 240 volt plug, you're looking at 2 full days. Like the exterior, the interior of the iX3 is just like its petrol-powered stablemate. It's very conventional and immediately familiar. And being an M car, it's fully optioned. In fact, the only things you need to choose are the colour of the Vanasca leather seats and whether or not you want fingerprint generating piano black here on the fascia here by the air vents or a cool aluminium pattern. Both are no-cost options. You can select a wood finish though in ash for an additional $270. The 12.3-inch centre console screen looks amazing. On the infotainment front, we've got AM, FM and digital radio. There's also wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There's native navigation, but the navigation from Apple CarPlay, I haven't tested Android Auto, also works with the head-up display on the windscreen and provides you with turn-by-turn directions as well. There's also EV information available from this screen telling you how much range you have left. Underneath that, we've got pretty standard climate controls from BMW, the shortcut buttons that you can customise to whatever you like, some more sound system controls. The sound system, by the way, is a Harman Kardon system and it lacks a little bit of bass, if I'm perfectly honest. Underneath the sticky roller door here, that's a little bit tricky to open. I had this same problem with the X3M Competition a few weeks ago. Please open, I don't want to break it. Aha, got it. Wireless phone charging, a couple of cup holders and a USB outlet. The lower console, pretty standard BMW. We've got the jog wheel here for the iDrive unit if you wish to use that rather than the touch screen. The gear shifter is pretty much the same except for the B mode here, which is actually the regenerative braking mode, allowing you to do one pedal driving just as you would in a Tesla, for example. The start-stop button is in blue and makes a very cool noise when you turn the car on. Thank you very much to German film composer Hans Zimmer for that. And then we've also got 3 drive modes of Sport, Comfort and Eco Pro. A nice soft center armrest here with leather and blue stitching, a good sized center console bin with a USB-C outlet in there. A good looking head-up display on the windshield, and then we've got a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, which is standard BMW, meaning that it's not terribly customizable. You can change the look and color of the dials by changing drive modes, but that's really about it. There's maps in the middle, although they are a little bit rudimentary. You can also change some of the dials over here on the right-hand side, scrolling through a few different options for those. The steering wheel, standard BMW unit, nice and chunky, has a really good feel to it with a bit of a blue outline outside the logo there. The one thing that is missing are paddle shifters. Most EVs have them up there to control the amount of regenerative braking. This car doesn't seem as though you can actually change the amount of regenerative braking. It's either on or off, and that's controlled via the gear shifter. The seats themselves are very comfortable. They're Vanaska leather. There's 3 different colors to choose from. I actually like this one the best. I think I really like the blue stitching on these. And there's a lot of electric adjustment available into an infinite number of positions. There's also electric bolster adjustment to really hug you into the seats nice and tight. There's lumbar support, and the seats are heated as well. So all up, these are very, very comfortable. And the back seat of the iX3, much the same as the X3M, funnily enough. Very comfortable. We've got more of these nice leather seats here, a fantastic view through the panoramic sunroof. It just looks really good, especially with the clouds racing along through the sky today. A good amount of knee room, although we do have a hard plastic shell here, so behind my own seating position at 190 centimetres, I'm actually not doing too badly. Good amount of tow room too. A separate zone of climate control back here, which rear seat passengers can control, and we've got 2 USB-C outlets down the bottom there. A centre armrest with a mechanical cup holder that pops open very nicely there, and all up, the back seat of the iX3 is pretty good. So all electric cars have a fake soundtrack, and there's 2 reasons for that. One is safety. Pedestrians would have no way of knowing that you're coming if they can't hear you as well as see you. The second reason is, well, why not? I mean, the electric motor doesn't make any noise, and that revving of the engine is something that we're all so used to hearing, so why not make it something cool? And BMW have taken that to the next level again by hiring famed movie composer Hans Zimmer of Batman and Superman fame to create the sound of this car, and it is awesome. It is by far the best sounding electric car there is. And the sound of constant acceleration just reminds me of the Batmobile in Batman, actually no, it was in The Dark Knight, where the Batmobile came apart and sort of turned into this 2-wheeled bike. And that's how this sounds. It just sounds like it could go on accelerating forever. The funny thing with that engine noise, I've had a couple of mates in this car and my kids as well, and all of them were surprised when I said that this car was fully electric. That engine noise actually tricked them into thinking that there was an internal combustion engine in this car. Now the iX3 only comes in 1 spec, and it only has 1 electric motor. A lot of more higher end EVs have 2. This one's rear wheel drive, and its 0 to 100 time is 6.8 seconds. So let's see what that's like. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, if I'm honest, the best part about it is that noise. Why can't Hans Zimmer design the sound for everything in the world? I'd vote for that. So it does feel a little bit sort of light at the front. It's just perhaps a little biased towards the back of the car. It does have a certain BMW feel to it though. But the steering, especially at speed on the highway here, does feel a little on the light and wafty side. The suspension is adaptive, and it feels really good. It's really smooth. It's not a harsh ride at all, but there's a good amount of grip and the car feels really quite stable. There is maybe just a little bit of body roll on some corners, but it's not too bad. So I've got the car in B mode at the moment with regenerative braking on. So whenever I take my foot off the accelerator, the car starts to slow down. And I was trying to explain this concept to a friend of mine who's never driven an EV before the other day. And he said that must be the hardest thing in the world to get used to. And as an idea, yes it is. But as soon as you get behind the wheel of one of these and try it out, it's amazing how quickly you get used to it. The adaptive cruise control system is really easy to turn on. One button push here on the steering wheel and everything is set straight away to 80 kilometers an hour, which is the local speed limit here. Currently we're doing 77 with the car in front of us, keeping a good distance. The radar is using the speed of the car in front of us to set our own speed. There's also some graphics here on the screen that show all of the cars around me, and it can actually tell the difference between a car and a truck and a pedestrian. Even they show up on the side as if they're walking along the footpath. There is something sort of refreshingly simple about the way this car works. BMWs and Audis for that matter, and other high-performance luxury European cars are often so overly complicated with not only several drive modes, but then there's modes within modes and so much configuration available. There is some of that here, but it is a lot more limited, and I'm actually enjoying the simplicity of it. The lane keep and steering assist systems seem to be working really well. We're keeping a pretty good position in the lane, and the car is doing most of the cornering for me here on this kind of slow, long curve on the highway. It's good. It's just amazing to think that only sort of 12 to 18 months ago how few EVs there were available on the market. I mean, there was the Hyundai Kona, the Tesla Model 3, the Model S, the Nissan Leaf, and that was kind of about it. And now, I mean, there's got to be at least around 20 available, and there seems to be more coming out every month. And it's good timing with petrol prices averaging around about $2.20 a litre at the moment. So I think it's cars like this that are really a good gateway drug for electric cars, because this one looks, feels and drives like a regular petrol car. In fact, the acceleration is actually better, if I'm honest. Certainly more immediate. But you don't have that quirky kind of look, and the way that this car is operated is completely familiar straight away. So it's not a big leap to go from a regular petrol-powered SUV into one of these. You will feel at home immediately. And look, I know this sounds a bit like a boring cliche, but it is kind of true. People who have never driven electric cars are the first ones to jump up and criticize them and say that they're terrible to drive. But the minute they get behind the wheel of one, they change their tune. It's the same every time. These cars are so good to drive, you really don't miss the engine noise for long, and that's from a purely driving point of view, that's the only real difference. The rapidly quick acceleration is an added bonus, but beyond that, the experience of driving a car like this, it's no different. And yes, charging this car is different to going to a petrol station and filling up. You can do that in 5 minutes. This, you might have to plan ahead a little bit and, you know, install a charger in your garage at home or charge while you're at work or at the shopping centre. But once you've worked those things out, and really it's not that hard, the experience of owning one of these is really no different to having a petrol-powered car. Competing with the likes of the Jaguar I-Pace, the iX3 is a less scary step into the world of electrification. It's really an EV in a petrol car's clothing, but it's also cheaper and better optioned than an entry-level I-Pace. So if you're after a Euro EV SUV, then the iX3 is definitely worth checking out.